Welcome back to The Explainer. If you've been with us through the group stages, you know we've got a pretty amazing track record when it comes to pinpointing exactly how these knockout matches are going to unfold. And how do we do it? Well, we completely ignore the hype and focus purely on the numbers. Today we've got a massive one for you. We're diving deep into the data-driven reality of the huge July 4th World Cup round of 16 matches. We've got two absolutely incredible fixtures on the docket today, and I can promise you this. The statistics are telling a very, very different story from what you're hearing on mainstream sports radio.
Okay, let's dive into this, because I really want to challenge you right out of the gate. Are you brave enough to look at the cold, hard facts and predict a tight, grueling match? Or are you just going to follow the crowd, expecting back-to-back blowouts? Look, it is so easy to look at big-name teams and just assume they're going to crush the underdogs 4-0. But knockout football? It's a completely different beast entirely. We're going to strip away all that public bias today and embrace the counterintuitive statistical reality.
Section 1, Round of 16 Analysis, Canada versus Morocco. So our first massive clash takes place down in Houston at the brilliant NRG Stadium. Now, if you listen to casual fans right now, the assumption is that Morocco, our celebrated 2022 semifinalists, is the heavy, undeniable favorite to just walk right over the host nation, Canada. There's this huge clash of perspectives happening, the court of public opinion versus the actual reality of tournament data. The prevailing myth is that Morocco is vastly superior offensively, mostly riding the wave of that historic 2022 run and a pretty decent group stage showing here. Everyone seems to think the Canadian defense is about to get absolutely dismantled, but this is exactly where the knowledge gap lies, and it sets us up perfectly to reveal what the numbers are actually screaming at us.
Now, what's really interesting here is how recent tournament play completely shatters that public illusion. Let's talk about goal productivity over the last 4 matches. So that's covering the group stage and the round of 32. Canada has actually scored 9 goals in their last 4 matches. Morocco, they've netted 7. Canada's attack is quite literally outperforming Morocco's in recent tournament play. I mean, they just put 6 past Qatar earlier in the tournament. The reality is, on paper, this attacking matchup is way more balanced than anyone wants to admit.
Section 2. Reasons for a draw.
So, given all that, why are we leaning towards a draw at the end of normal time rather than an outright win for either side? Well, we have to look at the physical toll. Morocco is currently facing severe mental and physical burnout. To even get to this stage, they had to survive an absolutely grueling 120-minute battle against the Netherlands that went all the way to a high-stress penalty shootout, which they narrowly won 3-2. But man, that takes a massive toll on a squad's legs and minds. Contrast that with Canada. The Canadians played a highly efficient, totally contained 90-minute game against South Africa, sealing a 1-0 win with a stoppage-time goal. No extra time, no penalties. That difference in freshness is going to be incredibly stark once we hit the 70th minute.
Then we really have to weigh the intangibles. Canada is experiencing the immense, undeniable momentum of being a host nation playing in their first ever round of 16. The psychological tidal wave of having a packed stadium totally behind them, you just can't understate it. Meanwhile, people pointing to Morocco's win over Canada in the 2022 group stages are honestly just using outdated data. Both of these squads have changed significantly in the last 4 years. That historical head-to-head matchup is practically irrelevant today when you stack it against Canada's current home field advantage.
And that brings us to our first confident, data-backed prediction, a 1-1 draw at the end of normal time. When you perfectly balance Canada's superior recent goal-scoring form and that immense host momentum against Morocco's undisputed pedigree but severe physical fatigue, a tight, gritty 1-1 stalemate is absolutely the most highly probable outcome. This is going to be a game of fine margins, definitely not a blowout.
Section 3. Round of 16 Analysis. Paraguay versus France.
Now let's head over to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia for what is a classic David versus Goliath matchup. I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. 38. That is the massive gap in the FIFA World Rankings between these two nations. France sits proudly at number 3 in the world, while Paraguay is way down at 41. I'll tell you right now, this is the absolute biggest ranking gap of any match in this entire phase of the tournament. The disparity in sheer class here is staggering. And the data models agree completely, highlighting the terrifying reality of France's dominance. According to the Opta model, which is based on betting markets, France has a staggering 78.8% probability of winning this game in normal time. And honestly, why wouldn't they? They completely swept their group, scoring 14 goals in their last 5 games while only conceding 2. On top of that, you've got Kylian Mbappe currently sitting on 18 career World Cup goals, hungrily chasing down Lionel Messi's all-time record of 19. They are an absolute machine.
Section 4. Why not a goal fest?
Let's move to how this builds, because if you're thinking France is going to win 5-0, you need to dramatically pivot your expectations. So the crucial point here is the tactical clash on the pitch. Yes, for sure, France has a highly prolific attacking trio in Mbappe, Olise, and Dembele. But Paraguay is not going to come out and try to outpass them. Paraguay thrives on a compact, deep, and incredibly disciplined defensive block. They don't care about possession at all. Remember, this is the exact same defensive resilience that just saw them pull off the biggest upset of the tournament, knocking out Germany on penalties after a 1-1 draw. They know how to suffer, and they know exactly how to frustrate superior attacking talent.
And this brilliantly illustrates that history actually has a funny way of repeating itself. We've seen this exact movie before. Back in 1958, France won in a crazy 7-3 shootout. But by 1998, which was their next World Cup meeting, Paraguay made it an absolute nightmare for the French. They pushed them all the way to extra time before France finally managed to scrape together a 1-0 win. The pattern shows that in modern knockout football, Paraguay always makes it a grueling, difficult fight. They force France to really earn every single inch of turf.
Because of that deep defensive discipline, our prediction here is a much more realistic 2-0 victory for France. It's just a much more believable narrative that Paraguay fights incredibly hard, stays super organized, but ultimately succumbs late in the game to the sheer overwhelming class of France's attackers. Predicting some absurd 4-0 blowout completely ignores everything Paraguay has shown us about their defensive resilience in this tournament.
Section 5. Final Prediction Summary.
All right, let's bring all this incredible data together. We've looked at goal tallies, mental fatigue, tactical setups, and historical precedents. So here is your ultimate cheat sheet for these July 4th matchups. For match 1, we are locking in a 1-1 draw between Canada and Morocco. Why? Because the recent goal data is remarkably balanced, Canada has massive host momentum, and Morocco is dealing with severe fatigue from that 120-minute shootout. Now for match 2, we have France beating Paraguay 2-0. Why? Because while the 38th-place FIFA ranking gap and France's offensive dominance make a French win feel inevitable, Paraguay's deeply disciplined tactical block and historical tendency to frustrate France means a tight, low-scoring victory makes the absolute most sense.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Do the cold, hard numbers change your mind, or are you going to stubbornly stick with the public favorites and expect the blowouts? Knockout football is where data meets human endurance, and as we've seen today, the reality is rarely as simple as the public thinks. Let me know your predictions based on what you've learned today. Get ready, because it is going to be incredibly fascinating to see how these matchups actually unfold on the pitch. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.